Welcome to the Fantasy Football Endgame with your hosts, Pierre Camus and Chris Cano. Hey guys, welcome to the Fantasy Football Endgame. We got some big breaking news that's going to impact a lot of your fantasy teams this week. If you haven't heard, the Titans and Steelers game, which was originally postponed due to some positive COVID cases in regards to Titans players and staff, has now officially been rescheduled. So I'm going to tell you who this affects and what are some possible pivots and what possibly the NFL will do with this game going forward. But before we get into that, if you're new here or if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, click that bell notification. We bring you content every single day that can help you win your fantasy leagues, and we get on for breaking news. Literally, we do everything you need to win your fantasy leagues. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our amazing content. Now, let's jump into it. So obviously this affects some big time players, right? So you can't start James Conner this week. You can't start Derrick Henry this week. You can't start Big Ben. You can't start Tannehill. No JuJu. No Deontay Johnson, who I know is in concussion protocol. No Corey Davis. No A.J. Brown. No JuJu Smith. And no Eric Ebron, who, myself and a lot of people had as a sneaky streaming option this week at tight end. So big time players out of your lineup this week. Get them out. They're not going to get you any points. So you have to treat this as their bye week. So good news, bad news. Bad news is obviously you're not going to have them this week. Good news is this is more than likely going to be their bye week because there is a pretty easy solution for this game to be rescheduled down the road. Yeah, it sucks. You're not going to have those guys this week, but good news is get the bye out of the way and you'll have them the rest of the season. So let's look at what can the NFL do here to make this game still happen going forward. So if we look at it right now, the Titans have a bye in week 7. Pittsburgh has a bye in week 8. The Ravens also have a bye in week 8, all right? Now the Steelers were set to play the Ravens in week 7. So what the NFL can do here, so they got pretty fortunate here. What they can do here is they can move instead of the Ravens having their bye week in week 8, they can move their bye week to week 7, right? So now the Steelers who have already had their bye, will play the Titans in week 7, right? So the Titans already had a bye in week 7. Steelers were supposed to have a bye in week 8. They're going to have a bye this week, so they can have the Titans and Steelers play that week. Move the Ravens into a week 7 bye instead of a week 8 bye. And then Baltimore and Pittsburgh were supposed to play each other week 7. So now they just moved that game back 1 week to week 8. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing. But in the grand scheme of things, it looks like Titans Steelers will play week 7. Ravens Steelers will play week 8. And everybody will still have one bye week. So yeah, it sucks. You're frustrated. But don't worry. Your guys are still only going to have one bye week, assuming they get this COVID thing under control, which it looks like they will. So yeah. An early bye week, make sure they're out of your lineup. But let's talk about some real quick, because we've talked about this in our waiver column. We talked about these guys in the streamers. We're going to talk about these guys in the start sits. So we don't need to go into too deep of detail here, but I just want to make sure you have some. Hopefully you had already planned, because this is something where the game was maybe going to be postponed. Hopefully you already got some guys on your bench. But if not, I have some pivots for you that are low owned. That you can possibly pivot to. So at QB, I like Fitzpatrick a ton against Seattle this week. I think he has top 5 upside. I really also like Baker Mayfield against Dallas and Derek Carr against Buffalo. Running back's tough, right? Because there's not a lot out there, but still these guys are under 50% owned on Yahoo. Carlos Hyde could be the starting running back for Seattle if Chris Carson is out. Jeff Wilson, we saw what he did last week. Probably no Mostert again. Definitely no Coleman again. He's somebody to look at. And Brian Hill over at Atlanta, kind of sneaky under the radar guy who's starting to creep up on Todd Gurley in terms of snaps and usage and getting some goal line work. So he's definitely a guy in deeper leagues you can look at there to replace Connor or Derrick Henry. Over on the wide receiver, again, not big wide receivers out this week. Deontay Johnson was probably going to be out anyways. A.J. Brown was probably going to be out anyways. So it's really just JuJu and Corey Davis. JuJu, he's solid, but he hasn't really been exploding yet. But here's some guys that you can replace. McCole Hardman over there in Kansas City. We know he has big play, big game upside. Marquez MVS. This is only if Adams happens to be out. I mean, I guess he's okay even if Devontae Adams plays, but I like MVS a lot more if Devontae Adams sits. Preston Williams, guy not getting a lot of chatter over there in Miami, but man, this matchup is so good. Seattle is giving up a ton of yards, a ton of receptions, and a ton of touchdowns to wide receivers. And then Hunter Renfrow. Ruggs and Edwards are out for the Las Vegas Raiders. So it's basically just Hunter Renfrow is going to be Derek Carr's number one receiving option. So he's a guy you can look at deeper who has some sneaky upside. And then over at the tight end, we talked about Dalton Schultz for the Cowboys. He's been coming on lately. Jimmy Graham and Nick Foles in there. He looked like Jimmy Graham of old last week. Now, I don't expect that, but I think he's still startable. Mo Alley Cox over there in Indianapolis. Thought Jack Doyle would take away from him, but he hasn't. He's had, basically 50 yards and over 100 yards in the last 2 games and a touchdown. And then here's a really deep, sneaky guy, Tyler Eifert, revenge game this week against Cincinnati. There was something where he's been working with Gardner Minshew. They're going to get him like 20 targets, revenge game. Now, I don't think he's really going to get 20 targets, but revenge game. Minshew could be looking for him more to kind of stick it to his old team, Cincinnati there. So anyways, guys, there you go. Just a quick reaction to that. Get those Titans and Steelers players out of your lineup this week. Get to some pivots. Hopefully you have some guys on your bench that you feel good about. And don't worry, more than likely they're going to play week 7 and you'll have the buys out of the way. So as always, guys, comment below if you have a question about somebody that's on your waiver that you're thinking about replacing one of those guys with. I'll help you out with that. And again, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, click that bell notification, hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed this. And I hope it helped you guys out, and we'll see you next time.